Greetings. It's time to work with tests in Blackboard. There is a three-step process for setting up a test in Blackboard. First is the name, description, and instructions for the test. These are entered in the test information option. Once that is done, we set up the test canvas. In the test canvas, we will be editing the test, and in doing so, we set up the questions, identify the correct answer for these questions, point value, provide the feedback for the student responses. Once the test has been set up, then we deploy the test. And we deploy the test in the content area from where the students will access it. When deploying the test, we can set up various options associated with it. For example, make the test available, how many times the students can attempt the test, set a timer. We can display the time period within which the test will be available, the due date, and so on. In Blackboard, we can set up the tests using the option for test surveys and pools, which is available under the course tools option. Once we have created the test, then we can deploy it within the content area by clicking on assessments and selecting test. Getting back to the sitemap for the Sea Turtles course, you'll notice that we have one test that needs to be created and deployed in our course on sea turtles. The details for the test can be found in the design document under the week 1 content. Here is test 1.1. We have a test with 4 questions. You'll notice that along with the question, we have the key which identifies the correct response. We've also got the point value for each of the questions. In addition, there is feedback, which will be displayed to the students once they have completed the test. For the short answer question, there isn't feedback because the student response to this question will be graded by the instructor. However, there is a key which identifies a typical correct response. So let's go to the course and figure out how we can set this up. Here we are in our course, and the first step to setting up this test is to go to the course tools option, find test surveys and pools, and then select tests. So to start building a test, we click on build test. And as we have seen earlier, the first screen here asks us to provide information on the test. So this test is test 1.1 Introduction to Sea Turtles, and we will drop that information here. In addition, we can put in the description instructions. For now, I'm just moving forward from here. The test canvas is where we can create a question. And as you can see, there are multiple types of questions that are available. The first question that we need to set up is a true-false question. So let's go here, find true-false, and then we are going to put in the question. And remember, we always paste and then remove formatting. There are a number of options we have here. This is going to give the option of whether the true-false are displayed vertically or horizontally. What is the correct answer? And so here the correct answer is false, so we need to select false. And then you can have unique feedback for correct or incorrect response. Now in this particular case, I'm going to put the same feedback for both correct and incorrect. The only difference is for the correct response, I'm going to add in well done at the beginning. And finally, to add this question to the test, I need to click on submit. The next question is a fill in the blank. Question for that is right there. So I'm going to copy it. Come here and we need to select fill in the blank. I drop the question text here, and now I need to identify the possible correct responses. So here we have 3 possible correct responses. So let's go ahead and drop them in here. So this is the exact match. So if a student enters CARAPACE, it will be counted as correct answer. Let's select 3. So we now have 3 possible correct answers. The next one is going to be a correct answer but with a spelling error. So we will then enter contains. So if the answer that the student enters contains this string of characters, it will be considered as correct. And the third one is this one, and we will have the same selection here, that it's going to contain this string of characters even if it is not exactly what it should be. Next comes the feedback. And again, when the answer is correct, I want to start with something positive. This time I will say excellent. Submit. Now you may be wondering where I'm going to enter the point value, because the first question has 20 points and the second question too has 20 points. So once the question has been added, I can click on this option here and I can update the point value. Click submit before you click out of it. And so now we have set up the first 2 questions to be worth 20 points. Now we come to the short answer question. To go back here, let's find the short answer question. I drop the question here. This is a short answer question and it will need to be graded manually by the instructor. Now you notice that there is a key here. The answer key can serve as a reference for the instructor and we can make it available in the instructor notes. Now you may wonder about these 2 options here. So if I were to click on submit and create another, what we will get is another question of the same type. So if we have another short answer question to enter, that's the link we would click on. But since the next question I have to enter is a multiple choice question, I'm going to click on submit. And then let's go here and find a multiple choice question. And now the question. And we have 4 options that need to be displayed. I'm going to enter them here. Now that I have the 4 options entered, I need to make sure that I'm identifying the correct response. Now in this case, sand is the correct response. And then again the same thing as we saw earlier. What is the feedback that will be displayed to the students? And click on submit. Now you'll notice that this is showing us the total number of points for this test. And clearly we have not set up the points correctly because it's supposed to add up to 100 points. Question 3 is worth 40 points and question 4 is worth 20 points. So we will change this just as we did the earlier ones. Change this to 40, click on submit. Now when we scroll up, we should see 100 points. So we have now created our test. And we go back to our test menu. Notice that here it says it is not deployed. So in order for students to be able to take this test, we will need to go into the week in which the students have to take the test, which in this case is week 1. We go to assessments, select test, and then there is the test that we want to deploy. Click on submit. And now here again, we have a whole bunch of options that we need to set. For example, do you want the test to be opened in a new window? Do you want the test to be made available to the students? Until we click yes, the students will not be able to see it. You can add an announcement. How many times do you want the students to be able to attempt this test? So let's say it is 3. Which score will you include in the grade book? Do you want to make sure that the students complete the test once they have started? Do you want the test to be timed? And do you want the test to be available only within certain time period? Finally, we can also make the test available only to specific user or user groups. Right now, we are not going to do that, but keep that in mind. If you have to create a special test for a student who needs accommodation and needs to have, say, 60 minutes compared to other students who have 30 minutes, you can make a copy of the test and make it available only to that one student. Add the due date if there is one. You want to include the test in the grade center calculation. So if it is not checked, this test score will not be added to the total score. And then finally, after students have submitted the test, which answer options do you want the students to be able to see? And do you want them to see the feedback? Choose the option here about whether the whole test is presented to the students in one shot, or do you want them to see one question at a time? In the interest of accessibility and plagiarism, it's usually a good idea to present the test with one question at a time. And then the last option here is whether you want the questions randomized as they are presented to the students. This again is a good deterrent for plagiarism. And once you have finalized the settings, you can then click on Submit. And now the test will be available to the students. As always, good idea to go into the student preview mode and check out the test and take it once to make sure that it behaves the way you were expecting it to behave.